Hello, this is Miles, and welcome to another episode of Pickleball Builders. I have a special guest today, Lisa Chastain. So, and I know there's a lot of different titles I could say for what your title would be. To me, it's Money Coach.
Perfect.
So, and I know you're a part of my life in that aspect, which has been really cool. So as we do these different episodes, it's one of those things where it's like, there's so many different ways that these components come into play with like pickleball, right? And building a pickleball court, right? That what I hear it on a daily basis. Money is actually still part of that process.
Yeah, totally.
So I thought it'd be awesome to have you on this episode and just kind of have a conversation and hopefully help our listeners to kind of figure out how we can solve a problem, which is there's a lot more players than there are courts.
I would have never thought that was actually a problem.
Yeah. It's
crazy.
Crazy, yes.
When did pickleball take off?
So it's been the fastest growing sport for over like 5 years. It's been now, however, the sport, I should know this, but I don't. The actual sport has been around for decades now. It's just has really caught traction over these last like 5+ years. So it's been the fastest growing sport. And now it's just the demand for courts is so much, the amount of players is so much higher than actual courts that you can get on.
How is pickleball, this is my question for Miles. How is pickleball different than tennis?
Okay. So
does it bother pickleball people when you talk about it like that?
Oh, they don't like each other. Oh my goodness, they don't like each other. It's like, it's almost like going to like a golf course, right? And you're like, you got this funny little game that they see it as. It's like this classy sport, right? And I'm not saying pickleball isn't classy. It's just like there's this legacy of like golf or like legacy of tennis. And then all of a sudden they got these people out here with like ping pong paddles and like a wiffle ball. And they're like, what are you doing on my courts?
Yeah.
So I think there is kind of that whole, and tennis is like a sport where it's like you really got to know. Like, you don't just pick up a tennis racket and be like, hey, you want to play a match of tennis? Mm-hmm. Like, you got to know there's a lot of skill set and, like, hours and hours of learning the sport. Mm-hmm. Pickleball, you're like, hey, I'm going to go to Dick's Sporting Goods, buy a wiffle ball, a pickleball and a paddle, and then you start playing. So it's very easy entry level.
Yeah.
But, they don't like each other for the most part. And then it's like, in the way that it's exploding, it's kind of taking away from tennis in that sense. I mean, of course, tennis will always be around, but so as far as the difference, first and foremost is the size. So it's like 25% the size of a tennis court.
Okay.
So a lot closer, a lot more interaction, a lot more social. It's just, and you're not having to like kill yourself to get to the ball. It's very fast paced, but a lot of it's the size.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Why do you love it so much?
I think for me is just, I always grew up with competition. Mm-hmm. I have 3 brothers that are 2 years apart. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that's all we did growing up. Like,
not pickleball, but compete.
Not pickleball, just play basketball every day, like hanging out. Like we'd go to the local park and play tackle football. Like my whole life was kind of around sports and competition. And for me, it's just that, I know for me, a core value for me is like connection, like human connection. I love hanging out. I think that's why I love to have why our backyard is like, we're still working on it, but why I'm so adamant about having like the ultimate backyard is I just want a really cool spot that we can spend time and make memories. So I think there's a really deep connection for me because I associate it with my childhood.
I love that.
So now as I'm older, I mean, I always joke about this, but it's like, I'm like, do I have any friends, Ashley? Like, I'll ask my wife that. Like, I don't think I have any, between work and trying to get the kids to bed, like, I don't know that I have friends. And then I'll be like, wait a second, I got my pickleball friends. Right. And then I'm like, I'm on 4 group chats of pickleball friends. Like, so I think as I've gotten older, I still want that need for connection, that need for some competitiveness and something that I can get really excited about and improve. And that's why I have a coach and everything else. So it kind of fills that need for me.
That's cool.
And so yeah.
Do you think that's what's happening for everyone else where this
Yes.
game is really on fire?
100%.
Because it doesn't require you to be a tennis athlete,
Yeah.
but you can still get out there and
Oh,
have
there's
fun.
so many times I'm so competitive and I'll look across the other side of the net and I'm like, man, me and my brother played in a tournament. I'm like, you guys have knee braces on and you're twice our age and you wiped us off the court. And I'm so mad, but there's nothing I can do, right? It's like, what am I
Yeah.
going to do? Smash the pickleball over the fence, So I think it's just, it's kind of both. Like it's
That's
a little
cool.
bit of everything. But I will say the social aspect of it, it's all ages.
Do you know what comes to my head when I think about it? I'm calling Ben Stiller and Will Ferrell out.
Okay.
Will Ferrell.
Yeah.
That I can see like a pickleball movie. Because did you see the dodgeball movie?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that would be so great, right?
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure they'll have. Yeah. It's like reality shows now, like a
Yeah.
little bit of everything.
Some drama on the court. And,
Yeah.
Right.
It's just.
Do you have people that are like really serious about it that come on and play? Or
Oh
is
my
everybody...
gosh. It's so many different, like it's every age. That's what's unique about it. Every age, there is not, when I think of like somebody that plays golf and, I can picture what they're wearing.
Yeah.
I can picture like what they talk about. They picture them at the country club.
Yeah.
Or if you talk about a tennis player, right? I can picture them. Pickleball is like taking a melting pot of people and throwing them in. Every age, gender, nationality, it's like taking everybody and anybody. I mean, I go out to these courts and there's like an 8-year-old out there like beating up on and he'll come out there with his coach and he's like whooping up on these older guys.
That's
and
awesome.
I'm like, dude, that is rad. And even my kids, I'm already like, all right, let's get them in some kids leagues because I'm thinking about different sports that will have longevity for them.
Right.
My kids always want to trade sports. Like right now, I'm coaching both my boys flag football.
Yep.
I've never played football. And I've never coached football. I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, this is like, it's fun, but who knows, it's going to be hockey next year, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking, what is something that I think they will play the rest of their lives? I think pickleball would be one. So as a dad, I'm like, and they like playing it, and they want to play what dad's playing. I'm like, I'm going to get them in some leagues, get them
Yeah.
to start playing.
That's something that you can play together.
Yeah, and for
Forever.
your whole life.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
That's really
that's
cool.
where it started for me. Grew up playing basketball. Used to always play pickup games together, like at a church, with all my guy friends. I mean, I was single. We'd play from like 9 to midnight, and then I don't know. I'm coming up on 50. Like running a court, I don't get super excited about that. And then these younger guys come out and they're twice as fast, and
Yeah.
I can't keep up. So it's like, what's that next sport? Golf, I'm terrible at. So for me, it's pickleball.
I gotta ask my brother. He's really been into sports his whole life, and I gotta ask him if he's doing pickleball yet.
Yeah.
At like 40, so I'm 43. At like 40, your body starts to tell you like, "Hey, enough."
Yeah.
If you're playing football or you're playing softball, or it takes one tweak and you're done.
Yeah.
But it sounds like pickleball would be. It's got some longevity to it. Is what I'm hearing you say.
Some
That's
real
really cool.
longevity. And that's why I think it's just such an interesting sport. I think a lot of people think it's like a trend. I'm like,
Doesn't seem like that.
it is not a trend. Yeah.
Let's
So,
talk about, have you done this on the show yet? I don't know, maybe you have, but let's talk about the market of pickleball.
Yeah.
So there's the social part of it. There's so many reasons that you love the sport, but connecting it back to finances, especially in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
What are you seeing the market is like in town? So my head goes to people wanting to put these courts in their backyards, maybe parks that are wanting to rehab and refurbish part of the parks. What are
Yeah.
you seeing? What are people calling you for?
As far as like what they're interested in, as
Yeah,
far as
like,
being
what are they
pickleball,
wanting to
or
do?
like the market itself.
Yeah, the pickleball market.
I see what you're saying. So yeah, it's interesting when nobody in Vegas really even knew what pickleball was, and I mean, it's obviously a handful of people. But I remember when COVID was happening, and the governor had
Yeah.
literally said like, "Okay, you have to social distance, and these are the few things you can do." And he says you can play pickleball. And everyone's like, "Pickleball." It's like saying like, so you can social distance and you can play ping pong. It's like
Yeah.
it was so bizarre, and people were like, it's like it was really like created a lot of buzz because people were like cooped up and they're like, what can we play? And then he's like, you can play pickleball, and it was so. I feel
moment,
like that was
right?
kind of a moment where it's like, whoa, and I think that's like so for the market for it. I mean, pickleball is just, the sports construction market. I mean, it is at the core of it. I mean, 17 years of doing sports construction in Las Vegas, and I mean, before it was like, you get somebody, basketball was a lot. You get a lot of calls for basketball,
Right.
a lot of calls for tennis. And now it's just totally 180 flip. Every call almost is pickleball. Like
Interesting.
every new community. So we build a lot of new communities, like all these new communities in Summerlin and all these different communities that we're building. It is pickleball. I think builders love them because they take up less space. People love it because they're more socially involved, and they're instead of 2 people on a humongous court, now you can put 16 people on a court of the same size.
Wow.
So it's just, I think, yeah. So I would say every new community's pickleball. Every backyard court is pickleball and basketball, usually in that order. In fact, I just came from an appointment. That's what they wanted. Actually, both families, that's what they wanted. So the market for it is just exploding.
Yeah, and they're the same. I don't know anything about this stuff, so
Yeah.
they're the same size courts no matter where you put them, whether they're at parks, schools, or backyards.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
So minimum size for one is 30 by 60. That's the minimum that USA Pickleball, says is the minimal court. 34 by 64 is a little bit more ideal, but it's just like tennis. On a backyard level, oh my gosh, I would love to have 2 at my own house. I have 1, but I'm like, if I had 2, I could have like
Let's call the
I could have
wife.
tournaments, and then I'm like, but I'd have to take it all the way to the street. And anyway, so yes, it's not. I've yet to do 2 at a house, but the person that does, I mean, that's going to be really cool.
Call Miles.
Yes.
He'll do it for you.
Yeah, but it's like, so one is a single court for residential, but then it's just like a tennis court. It's a battery of courts. So like sometimes a community can fit 3 tennis courts or
Gotcha.
2 tennis courts or 6. On a commercial level, unless you're a very small community, you need more than 1. They just fill up so fast.
Okay.
And that's kind of the biggest thing. Like we had a Zoom call with our corporate office, and they talked about this very thing, the demand. I mean, right now, currently in the U.S., for every 20 people that play tennis, there's 1 court available. For every 120 pickleball
Wow.
players, there's 1 court. It's a 5-to-1 versus tennis right now.
Yeah.
So it's just, so that's where, you brought up finances. I
Yeah.
think that's where it ties into that, is it's like the demand is so much higher than courts available. And I think for one, that's why people love putting them in their backyard, right? Like I am so frustrated when I go play at Durango and I lose, and I'm like, which happens regularly, but I would like to try to make it sound like I'm a pro, but I'm like in between. I get on these challenge courts and then I get whooped, but then I go on the
Yeah.
courts where it's just open play for anyone and everyone, and I usually win. So I'm like, where's my place?
Yeah.
Anyway, but it's like, but when you lose on those courts, if you win, you stay on the court. If you lose, you have to wait. So it's like I'm waiting like 20 minutes, sometimes 30 minutes to
Yeah.
get back onto a court. And so that luxury, if you have the space and the means to do it, that luxury of doing it in the comfort of your own backyard, having people over. I mean, I get guilted by my kids every time I go to play. They're like, "Dad, do you love pickleball more than us?" And this whole dialogue that's really awkward. And I'm like, I can love pickleball and you guys too.
You're
But
different.
it's like, yeah, but it's like the fact that I can have them come to my house, and then I think it's going to be cool for them because they get to see Dad play pickleball like all the time
Yeah, that's
instead
cool.
of me having to leave. So it's just all those things. But at the end of the day, it comes back to space, which obviously it takes more
Right.
money to have a bigger lot.
Right.
It comes down to, so there's a lot of that conversation, right? Like, I want a pickleball. How can I afford it?
Yeah, let's talk through that. So let's help. I mean, you do it commercial and you do residential. And on the residential side, if someone's listening to this or someone is also in love with the sport and they're thinking about starting with their backyard, walk someone through what are the things that they need to think about or that they need to know
Yeah.
to make a decision about whether this is the right fit for them.
Yeah, I think with on a residential side of it, that's what's unique for us is, sometimes I think people hesitate a little bit to reach out and be like, hey, I don't want to waste your time.
Right.
I just want to know if we have enough space. Like,
Right.
however, this is part of the process for us, right? Like at the end, and for me, I was joking about this with you before I got on here. My office knows when I'm late to the next appointment. It's just because if they say my trigger word pickleball,
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm off
You're
and
in.
running. I'm like, oh my gosh, you play pickleball? Like, what paddle do you use? And just like, da-da-da-da-da. But I think that's what it is like, I love coming out and seeing like the space, talking about like, first and foremost, you either have the space or you don't.
What is the space that you need?
So
What kind of, what size lot? Because Vegas has got different size lots, right? So what kind of space do you need?
it's interesting. Like sometimes it's like like the house that I literally just went to this morning. They're like, look, we don't want to do a pool. Costs a lot of money, a lot of maintenance. and just the cost of pools in general are just very, very high. So for them, it was like they could either do, you know, they were like talking about some like even a quarter acre or a third of an acre, or, you know, they usually hover around that area. But I have a lot of families where literally the family I just went to, they were like, okay, we're not doing a pool. So we can either do a small little court in the corner that's maybe just basketball, that's like a 30 by 30 or something like that, and then you do a little turf area over here. But it's just like what I see happening all the time is it's like, okay, we have a little bit of rock over here in the corner. We have a little piece of turf over here on the edge. Do you really use it? Do you really utilize it? So for them, they were like, okay, look, I want to play. And what's cool about once you get big enough for pickleball, now you have enough for basketball. Like you don't have to pick and choose between the different games because it's all about getting enough length. So once you hover around that 60 feet in length or maybe even like 54 feet in length, then you have enough length where you do have like 10 to 15 different games. Now you have 10 like quick start tennis, a scaled down version of tennis. You got badminton, you got volleyball, you got my kids put hockey. You put hockey nets on both sides of the court. You got hockey, you got soccer, there's just so many games. And not only that, what's really cool about our surface, or you know, we do all surfaces. A lot of people don't realize that, but we do all surfaces. But the particular surface that I'm talking about is our modular surface is like my 6-year-old. You can ride cars on it. You can rollerblade.
That's really cool.
You can do your little scooters and cars and all these other different things. So now it's not just a court. Now it's a huge play area.
Right.
So now your kids aren't on the street playing. Like, so you have a big court, 10 to 15 different games, and a huge safe, because safety really drives our product. A surface that has safety. There's head impact if you fall on it. It's not abrasive. Like, it has kind of all the featers in one thing.
Does it take your skin off when you fall?
It's really low abrasion.
Like
you know what's so funny is we'll show people courts because we don't have a showroom because I'd have to have like literally 100. I'd have to have like 200 different courts, and that wouldn't even cover all the different types of courts because every court's custom, right? The configuration, the colors, like everything is custom. So we'll take people to see a court. Like if you're like, hey, I'm interested in doing a court, cool. We'll take you around the corner. We'll check out a court, go through their side gate. So I took this gentleman, and he's like, hey, can I bring my brother and his friend? I'm like, yeah. So I'm used to doing these like little demos on the court, right? And we're hitting it back and forth. These guys were in it to win it.
Yeah.
Like this guy, like literally, we're in this guy's backyard, and literally this guy dives like for a ball, like full out, paddle extended. Yeah, like he's reaching for the pickleball, and he like dives on the court, and like he's no shirt, like just short sleeve.
Yeah.
And he literally slides across the court, and he gets up, and he's like, no abrasion. And I was like, you didn't have to, I wasn't expecting you to dive. It's like full blown. But no, as far as safety, there's so many sports surfaces on the market. But we take a lot of pride in the fact that our modular surface, like our tile surface, is like, it's the safest. There's head impact. There's like, it's low abrasion.
What about the heat in the summer? I know a lot of people are thinking about that.
So it's just, that's the thing. I mean, I this morning even was showing a potential customer a backyard. We were talking about the different angles and like, how we could fit the court. And I literally look over to the side and I'm like, oh, there's one of our courts. And this neighborhood's been there for 20 years. And I'm like, oh, I guess I can just show you how long our product lasts. Peek your head over the wall. The court had been there for 20 years, and it literally, every color still has color, structurally intact. Everybody wants to say their product lasts.
Sure.
And everybody can put a warranty or like, hey, you have a 15-year warranty. It's, what does it look like, though, after 15 years?
That's true.
Is the company still around? Will they call you back? Will they replace it? Like for us in Vegas, we have courts that have been here since the 80s.
That's cool.
And second generations. Kids are playing on the same courts their parents grew up on. These are courts that have no shade. I mean, we had one at the carriage house, the rooftop of the carriage house on the strip. Not one single tree for shade. And it was 25 plus years. And the maintenance manager called us, hey, we've never had to call you for maintenance, but we had a 2x4 come off of a high-rise that was being built, and it struck the court. We went out there, replaced it within 10, 15 minutes, put it back in place. But it's like, for something to take 100-degree heat
that's crazy,
and not become brittle is like, but it's also like 50 years in the making. So when it comes to like, we were talking about cost and things like that, I mean, when you look at, yes, you do invest more with our modular surface, right? because you can do like acrylic
What's the
paint.
difference? Like, what is the modular surface versus the tile surface? Like, help
So
me
it's more of a
understand that.
mold. It's more of like, it's like a 1/2 inch thick. It's a mold.
Okay.
It's an interlocking tile.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of them out there that are knockoffs that are not ours, and they're just not a good.
They're not as good.
They're just not a good demonstration of how it plays, how it bounces, how it lasts in the heat. Anybody can make something that looks like ours, but if it's not ours, it just doesn't hold up.
Gotcha.
And so, there's some negative stigma in the market of like, oh, you can't play on that, or pickleball, it won't bounce right because that's the thing is Sport Court came out with a modular surface, our pickleball modular surface that was specifically designed for pickleball.
Okay, gotcha.
So it bounces right, it plays right. I mean, it bounces within like a millimeter of the acrylic surface.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that it is designed for it, I mean, yeah. But if you play on 99% of these other ones that are out there, it won't bounce right.
Gotcha.
So it's just, and every that's what's unique about it, and that's why kind of going back to the whole cost thing
Mm-hmm.
and like, what does that look like when you call us? Is like, every court is unique, and every surface has pros and cons. What we try to match is what's your favorite sports? What's the ages of your kids? What kind of foot traffic are you going to be doing on the court? Like what else do you have planned in the backyard? Like, I am the visionary in the company. Like, I can see it. I can see exactly. Don't ask me to build it.
No,
it's not my
no,
ex.
of
My
course
wife
not.
won't even ask me to hang a picture at the house. So like, but I can see it. I
Yeah.
can visualize it. I know what works. Creating the hangout house in the backyard, like I can, within seconds of walking in a backyard, I can already see it.
Yeah.
Like, that's definitely, where my expertise is. So that's kind of where we kind of go with it is like, so as far as like when it comes to money, I mean, it's so cool. Like if you really look at return on investment, I mean, going back to these people that have had it for 15 years and now their kids are playing, their kids and their kids are playing on the same court. Like,
That's so cool.
as far as usage, it's just, there's nothing that the return on investment is huge.
That's what it sounds like. It sounds like, one, we know it's an investment, but if you're thinking about redoing your backyard anyway, you know that you're going to make an investment.
Yeah.
But the fact that it'll last, not
Yeah.
like even concrete, because concrete over time will erode and break and all of that. This
Yeah.
is going to last longer than concrete in a backyard.
Yeah.
Right?
And the beauty of like with cracks, like people say, what's your guarantee with cracks in concrete? I say, I guarantee you'll probably have a crack in your concrete.
Yeah.
Like I said, I would be on
That's
a
a good
beach.
one.
Yeah. I'd be on a beach in Mexico if I figured out how to make a crack never appear in
That's
concrete.
right. That's
Because
right.
it's going to expand and contract, right? So it does hide the blemishes in the concrete,
Yep.
right? So yes, I mean, going back to, anyway, you said something
No,
that I wanted to jump in on.
I'm curious. So let's walk a family through. They have
Mm-hmm.
the backyard. They know they want to make the improvements. They know that they want to make this investment. And a lot of people are scared of the investment of time.
Mm-hmm.
They've had, horror stories of getting backyards that take forever to get done. So let's talk about, like, what is the time commitment of putting in a court, whatever kind of court they want. And then also, what kind of investment are we looking at? Like low to high.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and that's what we're very transparent about that stuff, right? And we know we're not for everybody.
Yeah.
And we're very clear about it. And we know that you can go online or find something that's a knockoff or a spin-off of what we do and you will pay less. However,
Yeah.
the return on what you pay less for shows
Yeah.
very quickly.
You get what you pay for.
Yes. So as far as like
How long does it take to install a court?
So as far as the actual construction, usually on average, if I gave some really rough numbers, because every
Every
rough
court's
time
different.
frame, usually not more than a week for the concrete process, because sometimes there's demo, removal, So yeah, construction is dirty and messy. However, we try to make it as painless as possible. We want to handle it. That's what's unique about us is we handle it from start to finish, right? We come out, we have a kickoff meeting. We have everybody there, the electrician, our concrete guy, our Eric, who's going to oversee the entire installation. I'm there. Like, we are fanatical. It's one of our core values. We're fanatical about the details. We don't want it to look, and especially for the wives, right? For me, I just see like, oh my gosh, I want to have the coolest, baddest court in the neighborhood. My kids are always like, you're just trying to, you just want to like, they say flex. You're just trying to flex on everybody, right? And I'm like, no, I just want to have a cool court, right? And we hang out at and have fun.
Yeah.
But I think but from the wives, usually for the wives, they just want it to be beautiful. They don't want it to be an eyesore. They want it to look seamless. Like, you can't, unless you have a company that handles it start to finish. And some people value that, some people don't. Some people are calling their landscaper that lives 2 doors down, and they're
Right.
like, I can build a court. And they think it's just a slab of concrete, like your pool deck. Well, for us, you got to get it down to the inch, for the surface when it expands and contracts, like where you put those anchors, the fencing, like it is comprehensive, and it should look seamless with the rest of your yard. There's even people that I know, or even friends of mine, where I get on their court and they're like, hey, I love you, but I saved money. And I won't ever open my mouth, but I'm like, I see 10 things that you should have done differently. Because that's my expertise.
Yeah.
There is an expertise in sports construction.
Yeah.
And that's what we know, from the play to the way the products last, to the configuration, to what's around the court, to all of those different things. And there's always things that people miss. And so, but I also know everybody has a budget of what they want to put into the court.
Sure.
Some people are like, hey, I'm already pouring concrete and I got to let my pool guy pour the concrete. That's okay,
Yeah.
right? Like, we're going to try to do the best that we can do with what we have to work with. However, our hands are tied sometimes when we don't get a handle at start to finish.
Yeah,
And we show
that
up.
makes- that's a really good
some of
point.
the biggest, we've worked with some of the biggest general contractors in town, and they'll say, we can pour a court. I mean, I won't give names, but so let's just say, there's been some even casino owners that have the biggest general contractor in town. We show up after they've done the concrete, and we give them all the specifications, all the detail. It's still wrong.
Yeah.
Because they think it's just a slab of concrete, and it's not. So that's where, like I said, so that's that process coming out,
So
starting
like a week or so.
a week or so for concrete,
Yeah.
a week or so for actual installation.
Okay.
Now, there's 2 weeks of construction, but there's about, on average, 8 to 10 weeks for actual, because everything's custom ordered. So from the day that somebody says, hey, here's the agreement, let me make the investment, that from that point of when they order the court to where it's actually done and complete is usually like an 8 to 10 week window.
Okay. Great.
Just to give you a rough idea.
Yeah, and I know this is the time of year where people start taking their socks off and they start wanting to be outside more. And
Yeah.
then this is the time of year that people are thinking about that. So to know that from start to finish, it's going to take 2 to 3 months.
Yep.
So now's the time, if you really want to have a court.
It's so interesting you say that, because I don't know what it is. Everybody waits, and like I said, this is just the way people are.
Yeah.
They wait till it's sunny and it feels really good outside to be like, hey, we should put a court in.
That's right.
And then it's like, well, we're booked out, and
That's
and we
right.
try to get to it as soon as we can. However, yes, it's a process, and so I think those are the main. If I had to pick the main reasons why people go with this, is it's built to last. They know our name for quality. March Madness, the national championship that was played 2 nights ago, that's our sister company. We're owned by the same Gerflor company.
Okay.
So like, people know our product for, like our backyard, our pickleball surface, our modular surface for pickleball. It's now an official surface of USA Pickleball. Our basketball modular surface, official surface for FIBA. Like, people know our name for quality.
That's awesome.
And sometimes people are like, well, my kids aren't going pro. I'm like, it's not about your kids going pro. It's about, how does it bounce?
Yeah.
How does it last in the heat? Is it safe?
Right.
Are you going to have a company around? I've learned with warranties, it's only as good as the company and the
Yes.
capital that is behind that warranty.
That's true.
Because I have people call me all the time. They have a 15-year warranty just like you, but nobody's calling me back. And I'm like, it's because you have a 1-800 number and they don't live in Vegas.
Yeah.
So it's that whole built to last, handling start to finish. And then what a lot of people don't think about is, what about after the court's in? Sometimes courts, we have these high winds where part of the court, the surface, it might blow up in an area or whatever. We're usually out there within 24 hours. We get it back in place. We fasten it, or maybe you need maintenance. Maybe you need a cleaning. Even though it's built to last, everything requires a little TLC
Of course.
and maintenance, in the Vegas heat. So
course.
we take a lot of pride. Our goal is to have a relationship with our customers for the life of the court. And since they last forever, we have a lot of friends that are lifelong friends. I
Yeah.
see these kids now that were like knee high that are like standing over me, that are like, we still love our court,
That's so cool.
So yeah, we have a lot of history with it.
Okay, so that's the time investment, and that's a really compelling reason to go with Sport Court.
Yeah.
What about the investment, the actual investment? So my brain goes to, and being a money coach, I'm working with people all day long in their finances.
Yeah.
People have a lot of limiting beliefs around what they can afford and what they can't afford. Or, in my neighborhood, I drive by these big homes that have courts and thinking, God, I can't afford that.
Yeah.
For whoever is listening to this, who really does also love pickleball or who also wants to do a court, this is a dream of theirs, what does it take for them to actually get their foot in the door to get this project going? Are we talking about $200,000? I'm pretty sure not.
Yeah.
But right, like what's the actual number around it?
And here's the thing, and we don't, it's not something, it's one of those things where every court is custom, right?
Mm-hmm.
Depends on the size and the options, right? And so yes, it comes down to, first and foremost, it's a construction project. Where's it going? Is there existing landscape? Is there not existing landscape?
Yep.
That's what first comes into play. And then it's size of the court.
Yep.
And then it's options,
Yep.
right? Do we need fencing? Do you need lighting? Do you need logos? What surface are we going with? Like, we can help steer that in the direction of, what works best for what's their main sport. What's the ages of, is there kids? Is there no kids? Is it, are you retired? So that all comes into play. So there's no set number, but I will say just rough numbers. So like our smaller courts, like a shooting court,
Yeah, like
which
a
is
low
usually like
end,
a
lower
30
end.
by 30, which still, you can still get some great games on. Most of those I'd say are like 20,000 to 35,000 from start to finish.
Yep.
Our bigger courts that are a multi-game court, which would be like a true, like a full half court, or even like a, pickleball court. Really, like I said, once you get that length, you have 10 to 15 different games. A lot of those courts, I would say, range from 40,000 to 60,000, and then on up from there. Sometimes people even want to go bigger than that. But I would say most of them, if I had to pick a range, like a really rough range, and I know it's rough, is like 20 to 60,000.
That's cool.
Majority of them fall in that
That's
range.
cool.
So yeah.
Cool. Last question.
Yep.
I have so many questions.
I know. Now
We
you
could
got
be
me
here
like,
all day.
oh my gosh, I feel like I'm in an appointment and I just want to hang out and keep talking about it. Yeah.
What are some of the main reasons that people, when you're out in the sale, like when you're in someone's home and you're talking about them doing a court and they really want to, what are a couple of those financial pieces that you have to walk them through? How are they financing their courts? What are
Yeah.
those conversations like?
I think the biggest, so I as far as like that aspect of it, we do have multiple different options.
Okay.
Even just this morning, I had someone ask about this. We do offer financing, right?
Okay.
And there's no shame in it, right? I know, because I'm doing my yard right now, and then we're going to do the inside of the house too. Like, you want to hold on to be able to your cash, or you want to be able to, you have other things, projects you're wanting to do. So we do have like, 1 year same as cash. We have like, a couple different options with financing there.
That's good to know.
You can do credit card if you're trying to spread it out a little bit. And then we have some families that are just investing for it up front, right? I mean, we do, we take a deposit, and then it's kind of staged throughout the project as
Okay.
far as like how it goes. So
if you want it, you can do it.
yeah, and I think at the end of the day, we just come out and look at it. It's okay to explore.
Totally.
There's no harm in like exploring it. I think some I had a gal even just yesterday. For whatever reason, it didn't work out for him. I probably met with her like 6 or 7 times. Like, she gave me a big hug. Her name's Beth, and she's like, I really wanted to work with you, but it didn't work out. It was like for a community. And
Yeah.
I said, it's part of the process. I said, what I was most excited about is that we do a big grand opening party when the court's in. I just wanted to party with you and play pickleball.
That's right.
So that's, I think it's just exploring it and not being afraid to just I love it when people have open conversations. This is what I want. This is what the end vision is. How do we bridge that gap?
Right.
We can't be the cheapest, because you can't have the highest quality at the cheapest price.
Right.
I know that.
No, you can't.
But there's ways that we can get creative to make it work. And to have the house in the neighborhood that is the hangout house, everybody has a pool.
Yeah.
It's the people that have a court that is where everybody wants to be.
I love that.
So
I love that.
yes. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for coming on today. I know it was kind of a little last minute, but yeah, I love having you on here, and yes, money plays into it, whether
Totally.
it's commercial or residential. So I really appreciate you taking the time to get on here, and everyone that's listening, just remember to like and share, and keep the pickleball love going.
Keep it going. Keep the pickleball love going, and just knowing financially that whatever you want is possible. I believe that.
Yeah.
And you just have to have the right conversations with the right people. And if pickleball is your thing, Miles is your guy. That's what I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if money coaching, you need help there, Lisa's
Here
your
we are.
girl.
That's it.
Okay.
Cool.
Thanks again.
Yep.
We'll see you.